The torment of a nation, Chile, its southern half devastated day after day by volcanic eruptions and earth shocks of cataclysmic force which spread havoc around the entire rim of the Pacific Ocean. Thousands are dead, 1/4 of the nation, over 2 million, homeless, and still the upheavals continue. Whole cities have been reduced to shambles. In the ruins, life goes on. Aid is pouring in, including 2 complete United States Army field hospitals. In a year marked by tragic earthquakes, Chile's has been felt over the greatest area by far, one of the worst earthquakes of modern times. Mountainous tidal waves triggered by the Chilean earth shocks raced across the Pacific at 500 miles an hour. Every Pacific island felt their colossal forces. On Hawaii, 6,000 miles distant, 60 are dead or missing, and damage in the Hilo area may reach $60 million. Across the vast expanse of ocean, the tidal wave took a heavy toll. Along the California coast, it swept in at an angle, ripping coastal installations and causing heavy damages. Japan and Okinawa felt the impact cruelly. Their dead or missing number in the hundreds, property damage in the hundreds of millions. 1960 emerges as the most disastrous earthquake year of modern times, with more than 18,000 lives lost and the year not halfway out. America's new Sentry satellite is ready for launching at Cape Canaveral. Final adjustments are made on the Atlas carrier and its payload, the 5,000-pound experimental Midas. This missile defense alarm system will circle the Earth some 300 miles out, its heavyweight instrument package waiting to detect the heat trails of missile engines below. The launching of the Midas coincides with the United Nations debate over the U-2 spy plane incident. The Sentry satellite bolsters Ike's Open Skies proposal to ease world tensions. President Eisenhower renews his open sky plan to prevent surprise attack with a striking demonstration of aerial photography's effectiveness.
Here I want to show you a picture. This is a photograph of the North Island Naval Air Station in San Diego, California. It was taken from an altitude of more than 70,000 feet. But the white lines in the parking strips around the field are clearly discernible from 15 miles up, 13 miles up. Those lines are just 6 inches wide. Obviously, most of the details necessary for a military evaluation of the airfield and its aircraft are clearly distinguishable. I show you this photograph as an example of what could be accomplished through United Nations aerial surveillance.
The President offers to give American photo planes to the United Nations and outlines a continuing policy for the nation.
First, we must keep up our strength and hold it steady for the long pull. A strength not neglected in complacency, nor overbuilt in hysteria. So doing, we can make it clear to everyone that there can be no gain in the use of pressure tactics or aggression against us and our allies. Second, we must continue business-like dealing with the Soviet leaders on outstanding issues and improve the contacts between our own and the Soviet peoples, making clear that the path of reason and common sense is still open if the Soviets will but use it. Third, to improve world conditions in which human freedom can flourish, we must continue to move ahead with positive programs at home and abroad, in collaboration with free nations everywhere. In doing so, we shall continue to give our strong support to the United Nations and the great principles for which it stands.
At the United Nations, the Security Council debate on Soviet charges of American aggression ends with a sharp final clash between Gromyko and Lodge. Ambassador Large counters repeated denials of Soviet spy activities with a concrete and dramatic example. He tells how the Soviet planted a listening device in America's Moscow embassy, concealed inside a wooden carving of the Great Seal, presented as a gift by the Russians.
Go ahead, open it up. And here is the clandestine listening device. You can see the antenna in the aerial, and it was right under the beak of the eagle. I might add that it's really quite an interesting device.
The actual vote on Russia's move to censor the United States for the U-2 incident follows, with a 7-2 vote in favor of America. Only Poland sides with the Soviet. Russia now threatens to take its charges to the General Assembly, thus getting the maximum propaganda mileage from the incident of the shot-down reconnaissance plane. Meanwhile, the Council moves on to consider a resolution calling for the Big Four to resume their top-level conference.